Who is foreclosing homes, forcing people out of the houses they live in, pushing them into misery, condemning them to a lifetime of labor just to repay their debts? Who is driving everything up, blowing everything apart, and then buying those assets back, stocks, corporate assets of companies pushed into bankruptcy, at dirt-cheap prices? It is the banking elite, less than 1% of those standing behind governments. They grow richer and richer. This is their game, played by pumping and creating cycles. What they ultimately take is housing, land, time, and the labor of those at the bottom of the pyramid. Those who do not understand the rules, who do not understand finance, will spend their entire lives working just to repay debt, simply because they never understood the game. This is their game. Interest rates and cash flow are the bait that makes the fish bite. Cash flow is a tool. It has never been the goal. Land, housing, labor, time, and freedom. Those are the real assets of human beings. Your worldview changes the moment you understand what the deep state really is, the hidden world beneath the surface. There is no real faction or side. Everyone in society only knows what they are allowed to know. Here's the hypothesis. All of these events are created by some hidden force, even so-called black swan events. Welcome to Unsaid Truths, a place for realities society does not want you to see. Today, many people believe the United States is the ruler of the world, the most powerful nation on earth. Then come countries like Russia, China, Germany, the UK, France, or their presidents and leaders seen as the most powerful people in the world. But in reality, they are only employees. Their countries are merely playing fields for powerful families operating behind the scenes. These families control finance, resources, politics, economies, and societies across the globe. They have the power to change entire systems. If they want someone to become president or prime minister, they can arrange it. Sounds unbelievable? Yet the essence of events across more than 190 countries can be reduced to just a few words: public debt, taxes, and inflation. Understand these concepts correctly, and you can explain almost every economic and political event in any country. Stay with us to understand how the elite take your money, the process by which elites extract wealth and manufacture economic downturns is actually very simple. Let's break it down in plain terms. First, understand this. One person's spending is another person's income. Step 1. Through banks, the elite slash lending interest rates to stimulate economic growth. At this stage, businesses and ordinary people mortgage land, homes, and their future labor to banks in order to expand production and investment. As borrowed money floods the economy, businesses and individuals gain capital, production expands, investments surge. The economy grows. People have jobs and money to spend. Businesses make profits. Everything looks healthy. This is the first stage of the classic shearing the sheep cycle, explained clearly in a documentary, if I remember correctly, called Capitalism: A Love Story. Collateral assets rise in value, allowing even more borrowing at low interest rates. As the economic bubble inflates and inflation begins to rise, the system reaches its peak. Then, banks raise interest rates to combat inflation and demand debt repayment. Businesses can no longer keep up, are forced to liquidate assets, cut infrastructure, and lay off workers. Unemployment rises. People lose income, default on debt, and declare bankruptcy. Banks seize assets. Those who can't repay mortgages with money repay them with labor. The economy enters recession. After inflation subsides, the cycle begins again. Banks lower interest rates once more. This loop never ends. Look closely. During each inflationary cycle, housing and land prices skyrocket. Compared to 20 years ago, prices have multiplied several times over. This shows how devastating inflation truly is within this endless loop. If you don't understand it, you remain a slave forever. Only those who understand the rules and can see what comes next can recognize economic phases and the signals that indicate a shift in the cycle. Do you think the elite feel any remorse when 170,000 families lose their homes in the largest crisis in U.S. history? The answer is no. The Federal Reserve is the culprit, And it will keep doing this without stopping until the world is flooded with dollars. In every scenario, war, pandemics, terrorism, there is intent and design to crash economies, buy assets cheaply, and push national banks toward collapse. Now, the nature of the stock market. Banks created stock exchanges not just to manage credit risk, but as incredibly powerful profit-making machines. So why did banks create stock markets? First, to control indebted companies. When companies borrow heavily, banks can force them to go public to raise capital and repay debt. Public companies are more transparent, allowing banks to monitor finances more easily.
If stock prices rise, companies raise capital without borrowing more. If stock prices fall, the company still carries the debt. Money has already been pumped in. If it still collapses, there's no rescue. Second, double profits, control and earnings. Banks can accumulate shares cheaply before IPOs, then sell them at much higher prices once listed. Instant profit. Even if the company collapses, banks still win through underwriting fees, interest, and countless financial charges. Third, stock markets are banks' money-printing machines. They create products like margin lending, repos, and pricing instruments, all fee-based. Controlling massive capital flows allows them to manipulate stock prices. In good times, they lend margin. In bad times, they tighten margin. They earn on both ends. In conclusion, stock markets can collapse at any time, but banks always win. Retail investors are merely pieces on someone else's chessboard. The rules are designed for banks to win, while small investors must stay alert to avoid being consumed by someone else's game. Do you understand now? Think about the wave of fake billionaires in recent years. Many got rich manipulating stocks and paid the price with prison sentences. These billionaires specialize in borrowing money, inflating valuations, then disappearing. Step 1. Borrow capital and create a fake million-dollar company. They borrow money from banks or investment funds, then use it to set up a company with a promising model, technology, AI, renewable energy, commerce, and so on. They don't need a real product. They only need to paint a bright enough future to attract belief. Step 2. Manufacture media and inflate value. They hire the press, KOLs, spread stories about the company's grand vision. They organize fundraising events, constantly appear in the media as investment geniuses with early participation from investment funds. Everyone works together to inflate the company's valuation. Step 3. Go public and create screen billionaires. The company is valued many times higher than its real worth. The IPO price is absurd. The stock surges, media coverage explodes, retail money starts pouring in to buy. Step 4. Exit before the bubble bursts. When the stock price reaches its peak, the billionaire quietly sells shares and converts them into cash. Retail investors keep buying, believing the price will go even higher. Step 5. The bubble collapses and investors are trapped. When the company fails to generate real profits, confidence fades and the stock crashes. The billionaire has already cashed out and disappeared. All that remains are retail investors stuck with worthless shares. Real estate, the greatest economic trap of the century. Have you ever looked back at real estate prices in Vietnam 20 years ago? Back then, a house cost around $500 million. Today, even $5 billion may not be enough. Prices have risen more than tenfold. So what does the future hold? But don't rush to assume prices rise simply because land is scarce. That's only the surface. In reality, this is a sophisticated economic game played by banks, corporations, and ordinary people. Real estate is a game for giants. It's not just about buying and selling homes. It's a powerful tool for economic manipulation, money laundering, and asset control. Authorities shape land policies and decide the fate of the market. Banks pump money, manipulate credit, and tighten debt when necessary. Real estate corporations hoard land early, inflate prices, sell at the top, and launder money. And ordinary people, the last ones to rush in and buy at peak prices, end up carrying debt for life. Why do housing prices rise more than tenfold while people remain poor?
Real estate prices skyrocket, yet most people don't get richer, they get poorer. The reason is inflation.
Imagine playing a game where your income grows only 5% per year, but the price of items in the shop rises by 30%. You work your entire life and still can't afford a home, while others can buy a mansion the moment they show up with cash. Why? Because your money is wage income. Their money is asset income. The rule of the game is simple. If you own assets, land, gold, or even stocks, you win, because asset values rise with inflation. If all you have is cash and a monthly salary, you lose. Cash loses value every year, while wages crawl upward like a turtle. Salaries can never keep up with housing prices, and the dream of owning a home has turned into a nightmare. 20 years ago, a $2 million salary and a $200 million house meant 10 years of saving could buy a home. Today, a $15 million salary and a $20 billion house means 111 years of saving. Hopeless. In the end, this system was never designed for you. You work relentlessly. You save every coin, while banks and the wealthy sit on land and watch prices triple in just 5 years. You think you're trying to buy a house? No, you're racing against inflation. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor. Because that's how the game was designed. So will real estate keep rising, or is the game over? Housing prices keep rising because society cannot allow them to fall. The financial system depends on real estate. Money from the wealthy, banks, and investment funds continues to pour into the market. Population grows, land stays the same, limited supply, rising demand, prices rise. But rising real estate prices are not only about population growth and finite land. That's true, but incomplete. Look around. Is empty land in Hanoi really rare? What about other major cities? Are there no unsold apartments? No empty buildings? The answer is, there are many. China even has ghost cities, fully built yet uninhabited. Tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of empty apartments. Yet prices still explode multiple times over within just a few years. The reason lies in inflation. Land is where inflation is stored. Land is where money is parked. So who controls the flow of money? Who is driving this game? Governments and central banks have 3 divine tools to steer the economy. First is monetary policy, which includes interest rates, money supply, and credit. Second is fiscal policy, which includes taxes, public investment, and asset control. Third is the management of exchange rates, gold, and foreign reserves, including control over capital inflows and outflows. The objective is very clear. Channel money into one place and prices rise there. Pull money out and prices collapse immediately. In the end, money never leaves the system. It simply no longer belongs to you. Now, watch how the game is played. If you understand the rules, follow the flow of money, and know where capital is moving in and out, only then do you have a chance to make money. Phase 1. Recovery. Setting the stage. The media complains that the economy is still weak, still struggling, but in reality, money is already being quietly injected into the system through banks, bonds, and public investment. Savings interest rates are kept high, while lending rates are not yet cut aggressively. The goal is to keep people depositing money into banks, building a large pool of capital. Once banks are flush with cash, expanding credit later becomes easy. Exchange rates, gold, and the US dollar are kept stable to prevent capital from flowing outward. So what happens? At this stage, only big players quietly accumulate cheap stocks. Ordinary people lack information because the market is still cold. Real estate remains dormant, but speculators begin watching closely. Gold edges up slightly due to inflation concerns. Bank deposits remain high because savings rates are attractive. A key signal appears. Governments start talking about economic recovery. Banks quietly loosen credit, but without public announcements. Phase 2. Growth. Pumping money and driving prices up. The media begins shouting, "The economy is recovering strongly." Anyone who doesn't invest now is missing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lending rates fall sharply. Banks become more generous with credit.
The goal is to push money out of banks and into asset markets, stocks, real estate, and businesses. FOMO is created. The more people pulled into the market, the better. The result? Stocks soar. Every household opens trading accounts. Everyone is buying shares. Real estate explodes. Even barren land skyrockets in price. Gold temporarily loses appeal. Bank deposits plunge as people withdraw savings to invest. The telltale sign? Everyone is making money.
Even the vegetable vendor at the market is talking about stocks and crypto. Banks hand out home loans and investment loans like candy. The media declares it a golden opportunity. Phase 3. Slowdown, pulling money back. Interest rates begin to rise, but the media reassures everyone that nothing is wrong. It's fine. Credit tightens quietly. No one says it directly, but borrowing becomes harder. The local currency comes under pressure, forcing governments to defend it with foreign reserves. The objective is to pull money back into banks gradually, reducing liquidity without causing shock. The result? Stock market liquidity dries up. Negative news increases. Real estate sees price cuts and falling transaction volumes. Gold starts rising again. Bank deposits increase as fear sets in. A clear signal appears. Banks become reluctant to lend. News spreads of discounted property sales. Brokerages urge calm, insisting the market is still strong, encouraging investors to bring in more money. This is often the moment before a crash. Phase 4. Crisis. System cleansing. Interest rates surge. Capital flows are tightly restricted. Capital outflows are blocked. Foreign reserves are protected. Gold and US dollars are controlled to prevent capital flight. The goal is to stabilize the banking system and prevent a catastrophic collapse. The result? Stock markets crash. Liquidity flatlines. Real estate freezes. Investors stuck at the top struggle with losses. Selling cheap still finds no buyers. Gold surges as everyone seeks a safe haven. Bank deposits spike as panic spreads. The warning signs are everywhere. Media headlines about global crises, people lining up to withdraw money, gold shortages. The final objective is to stabilize the financial system and prepare for the next cycle. Do you understand the economic and financial cycle of society now? Leave a comment below and let us know. What matters most isn't what you invest in or how skilled you are in any one market. What matters is understanding the economic cycle. Because every asset follows a cycle. Money pumping, peaks, bottoms, and collapse. Understand it to survive. If you found this podcast meaningful, don't hesitate to leave a like, share it, and subscribe. The next episodes may help you more than you think.